It's good to be here. I almost didn't even know about it because I haven't checked my voicemails from my dad from the last 12 years. Something.
8 children, 2 marriages, one tragedy that shook the entire world. Alec Baldwin has lived more lives than most people dream of, and every single one of his kids has paid a price for it. One daughter grew up in courtroom headlines. 7 more were born into a circus of cameras, controversies, and chaos. And yet, somehow, this family is still standing. So, what actually happened to Alec Baldwin's 8 children? And are any of them okay? This is the story CelebScope pieced together, one child at a time, 8 children. 2 wives, one name that never leaves the news. Most people know Alec Baldwin as the man who's been everywhere, Saturday Night Live, 30 Rock, and tabloid front pages for 3 straight decades. But behind every headline is a father, a complicated, often controversial, deeply devoted father of 8. His oldest child comes from a love story that turned into a legal war. His youngest was born just 3 years ago, and the path between those 2 moments is one of Hollywood's most turbulent family sagas. To understand where these 8 children are today, you have to go back to where it all began. Asterisk 1993. Kim Basinger and Alec Baldwin wed in 1993. Alec Baldwin married Kim Basinger. She was one of Hollywood's biggest stars. He was on his way to becoming one of its biggest actors. Together, they looked like a dynasty. In 1995, they welcomed their only child together, a daughter named Ireland Elias Baldwin. Ireland arrived into a golden world. But that gold didn't last long. By 2002, Alec and Kim were in court. The divorce was brutal. Custody battles dragged on for years. Ireland, just a child, became the centerpiece of one of Hollywood's nastiest splits. And then came the voicemail that changed everything. In 2007, a recording leaked. On it, Alec Baldwin, furious, raw, unfiltered, called his then 11-year-old daughter a, quote, thoughtless little pig. He was reportedly enraged over a missed phone call. Asterisk. The voicemail heard around the world minus 2007, the fallout was immediate. The media exploded. Parenting experts weighed in. Baldwin issued a public apology, saying, paraphrased, that he was frustrated and said things no parent should ever say to their child. Ireland herself, years later, would tell the world it wasn't the whole story. She publicly defended her father. She said, paraphrased, that the press painted a picture that wasn't fair, and that her relationship with her dad was more complicated and more loving than any leaked voicemail could show. But the damage to his public image was permanent, and Ireland spent much of her teenage years navigating that damage in full view of the entire world. Asterisk Ireland Baldwin, born 1995 today. Ireland Baldwin is 30 years old, and she has built a life entirely on her own terms. She became a model. She stepped into the spotlight deliberately, not reluctantly. She's been outspoken about mental health, body image, and the very real pressures of growing up with a famous last name. She and her father have gone through distance and reconciliation publicly and privately. She's spoken candidly about the complexity of loving a parent who is also a public controversy. But Ireland is also a mother now herself. In 2023, she welcomed her first child, making Alec Baldwin a grandfather, a detail that reportedly moved him deeply. Ireland Baldwin is not a victim of her upbringing. She's a product of it, and she's reshaping what the Baldwin name means for the next generation. Asterisk. June 2012, Alec marries Hilaria Thomas in 2012. At age 54, Alec Baldwin got a second chance. He married yoga instructor Hilaria Thomas, 26 years his junior. And what followed was something nobody in Hollywood predicted. They didn't just build a family. They built an empire of children. Carmen Gabriella arrived in 2013, Rafael Thomas followed. In 2015, Leonardo Angel Charles came in. 2016, Romeo Alejandro David in 2018. Edu Pao Lucas in 2020, Maria Lucia. Victoria also joined the family in 2020 via surrogate. And finally, Ilaria Catalina Irena, born in 2023. 7 children in 10 years. Asterisk 7 children minus 2013 to 2023. Hilaria was open about the pregnancies, the miscarriages, and the emotional roller coaster of rapid family expansion. She shared it all, sometimes too much, according to critics. But for millions of followers, she made the Baldwin family feel human, relatable, even warm. And for a time, it worked. Alec Baldwin, the man tabloids had labeled volatile and difficult, was now showing up on Instagram in dad mode. Changing diapers, reading bedtime stories, looking for all the world, like a man finally at peace. Asterisk being a Baldwin. Child means growing up in front of cameras you never consented to. Hilaria's social media presence brought the children into the public eye constantly. Followers watched Carmen learn to walk. They saw Raphael start school. They tracked baby weights and first words and Halloween costumes. Some praised it. Others worried about the long-term effects on children raised as content. And then there were the controversies that had nothing to do with Alec's past behavior. In late 2020, questions surfaced about Hilaria's background specifically, whether she had misrepresented her Spanish heritage for years. The story exploded online. She addressed it, acknowledging she was born and raised in Massachusetts, not Spain, while maintaining that her connection to Spanish culture is genuine and lifelong. The episode was a bizarre interlude in an already complicated public story, and the Baldwin children, too young to understand any of it, were photographed throughout asterisk. October 21st, 2021, Rust Film Set. New Mexico, no discussion of this family is complete without acknowledging the moment that redefined everything. On October 21st, 2021, on the set of the independent Western film Rust, a gun discharged in Alec Baldwin's hand during a rehearsal. Cinematographer Helena Hutchins was killed. Director Joel Souza was injured. The incident sent shockwaves through Hollywood, through the legal system, and through the Baldwin household. Alec Baldwin maintained he did not pull the trigger. The investigation dragged on for years. Criminal charges were filed, then dismissed, then refiled, then ultimately dropped in 2024. But the legal outcome was almost secondary to the human cost. Hilaria Baldwin, in rare emotional posts, described a family under siege. Alec reportedly leaned on his children for stability during one of the darkest periods of his life. Paraphrased, he told those close to him that his kids were the only reason he got out of bed some mornings. Ireland. Baldwin publicly stood by her father. She pushed back hard against media narratives she felt were unfair. She defended him, not as a PR move, but as a daughter who said she knew who her father was. And the 7 younger Baldwin children, all under 10 at the time, were shielded as best their parents could manage. But children feel what adults don't say. And the weight of those years settled somewhere in that house. Asterisk 2026, where are they now? Here's the twist the tabloids never quite told you. Despite everything, the voicemail, the divorce, the Rust tragedy, the heritage controversy, the years of scrutiny, the Baldwin children appeared to be thriving. Ireland is a confident, successful woman who has turned her complicated childhood into fuel for a very public, very honest life. She's a mother. She's an advocate. She is, by every visible measure. Okay, Carmen, the eldest of the Hilaria children, is now in her early teens. She has appeared in family content and, by accounts, seems grounded and close to her mother. The younger children, Raphael, Leonardo, Romeo, Edu, Maria, and Ilaria, are still in the early chapters of their stories. They go to school. They play. They'd fight over toys. They are, against all odds, just kids. Hilaria Baldwin has continued to be their public face, their protector, and their narrator. She has been fiercely unapologetic about keeping the family together and keeping them visible on her terms. And Alec Baldwin, at 68 years old, is still here, still working, still controversial, and still, by every account from those who know him, deeply invested in these 8 human beings who carry his name. The real story of Alec Baldwin's 8 children isn't a tragedy. It's something more complicated than that. It's the story of children who were born into chaos they didn't choose, raised by parents who were imperfect in very public ways, and who somehow, each in their own way, are carving out identities that belong to them. Ireland Baldwin spent years being the punchline of a voicemail. Now she's a mother setting her own example. That's not a small thing. That's a full-circle moment that no tabloid headline predicted. And those 7 little Baldwin kids in New York, they are growing up knowing their father went through something devastating and survived it. That their family was scrutinized from every angle and stayed together anyway. That love, apparently, can be stubborn enough to outlast almost anything. Asterisk, as of 2026, the Baldwin family remains one of the most watched and most misunderstood families in American celebrity culture. The children of Alec Baldwin are not footnotes in his story. They may, in time, become the most interesting chapter of it. Ireland has already proven that a complicated start doesn't determine a complicated end. And Hilaria and Alec's 7 younger children have barely begun to write their chapters. Whatever you think of Alec, Baldwin and opinions run strong. These 8 kids didn't sign up for any of it. And watching them navigate it with apparent resilience says something about the quiet work of parenting that cameras almost never catch. Asterisk. You came here asking what really happened to Alec Baldwin's 8 children. Here's the honest answer. They grew up. They're still growing up. And they are doing it in ways that might actually surprise you. If you've ever wondered whether a family can survive public catastrophe and still come out intact, the Baldwins might just be the complicated, messy, free-world answer. Drop a comment below. Which of Alec Baldwin's children's stories surprised you most? Ireland's journey, the sheer scale of the younger family. We read every single comment. And if this kind of deep dive into the real stories behind celebrity headlines is what you're here for, CelebScope has dozens more waiting for you. The subscribe button is right there. The next story might be even more surprising than this one.